But actually, the consumer has kept spending. Things have slowed down a little bit, but there's a lot of debate as to where we go in half two of the year, because of course that's when the impact of tariffs will really hit home. So Walmart's been very, very creative. And I always think of it as a strange company because it is a huge company, but it actually behaves like a very small company. It's still very entrepreneurial. It's very alert to challenges and opportunities, and it moves really quickly. People want bargains. They want deals. They want offers. They are prepared to spend, but they want things at a really good price.
I'm going to take you through, or rather you're going to take us through the US, the UK, the EU and China as far as tariffs are concerned. But that's a huge subject. A snapshot of each, if you would, please, starting with the US. Where are we right now?
Well, the US actually is surprisingly resilient. I think there's a lot of nervousness around tariffs, especially from the consumer side. We see that in the sentiment and the confidence. But actually, the consumer has kept spending. Things have slowed down a little bit, but there's a lot of debate as to where we go in half two of the year, because of course that's when the impact of tariffs will really hit home. And I think there's nervousness about the holidays and how the consumer performs as we go into that critical trading period. So we're sort of on a knife edge at the moment. It's not been too bad, but there's this horrible feeling it could all tip over the edge of the precipice anytime soon.
Do you think that he will continue to change his mind all the time? And where do you think, across the board, people are most likely to be adversely affected?
Well, I think that's the problem, isn't it, David? I think this is very changeable, and every day brings a new announcement. But I think the general pattern is that tariffs are here to stay. If you want to play with the United States now, you want to export things here, you have to pay to do that. Where the tariff levels land is anyone's guess, but they are going to be higher than they were before Donald Trump took office for this second term. So I think that's the general trajectory. I think where the pain point comes is in the US sense, it's going to push up prices for consumers. We've already seen the inflation numbers this morning are starting to creep up in the US. I think for other countries, it's really about exports and dealing and doing business with the United States. And for a country like China, if that trade is disrupted and if manufacturing capacity comes out of China and is put in countries like Vietnam, where there is a more settled trade policy now, that's bad news for China. But as you say, a lot of this pain is yet to materialize.
Walmart seems to go from strength to strength. Target seems to be a bit off the pace at the moment. Kroger's done well. Costco, I know you can't compare them because it's very much a wholesale operation. But these strike me as four companies. Obviously, we'd like to know a bit more about Target, that one shouldn't leave alone, and they're probably going to do pretty well in the next 6 months.
Yeah, that's right, David. And Walmart's fascinating. I mean, Walmart's still the largest retailer in the world, and the growth that it's been putting on over the past few years has been just phenomenal. It's slowed down a little bit in the latest quarter. I think for the US, growth was about 3.2%. But for a business the size of Walmart, that is fantastic growth, especially in the current environment. And some of it is about consumers going there, including higher income consumers, to save money, because Walmart is an unashamedly low price retailer. But they've also done really interesting things. They've expanded their marketplace, so they're competing a bit more with Amazon. They're revamping and investing in their stores. They're making them look better because they're attracting some higher income consumers, and they want those consumers to shop more with them. So Walmart's been very, very creative. And I always think of it as a strange company because it is a huge company, but it actually behaves like a very small company. It's still very entrepreneurial. It's very alert to challenges and opportunities, and it moves really quickly. And the management is extremely humble. They never think that they know everything. They always go out to the market and to the consumer with an attitude of how can we learn, how can we do things differently? And you see that coming through in the execution. And of course, that drives the really fantastic numbers we've had from Walmart. And as you say, I think more to come.
How about online, the likes of Amazon and so on? They reached a peak, do you think? Do people still now feel that they want to go back to physical shopping, perhaps?
Well, I think Amazon's very interesting because I certainly think that they are now a very mature business, at least in the US. And of course, that does put a bit of a cap on growth. But one of the things I find really interesting about Amazon is what they're doing is looking very strategically at where there are growth pockets in the US. So what they've said is, okay, in towns and cities, in urban areas, we have enormous penetration, we have enormous customer spending. Where do we have lower penetration and more potential to grow? And actually, in the US, it's in the rural areas. And they have spent a lot of money investing in delivery capacity for rural areas to expand next day and same day delivery capacity. And they're seeing a lot of growth from these rural areas. So that's one thing that makes me quite optimistic about them. The other is actually grocery. They've struggled a bit with the physical grocery formats, Amazon Fresh, Amazon Go, that they've tried to launch. But actually, they're growing really quickly online for household essentials, things like shampoo, things like laundry detergent, because they're very cost effective, very low price, but also they're super convenient. So I think there's big opportunities there as well. So I'm pretty optimistic on Amazon. The bit where I think they've maybe lost some ground in terms of valuation is on AI. I think that there are companies out there in the tech space that have a lot clearer strategies on AI than Amazon does. Amazon's doing lots of things. I just think they haven't tied everything together. But on that consumer side, I still think that they are far and away one of the best online retailers in the space.
Yes, a lot of the share prices, of course, since the beginning of the year have done pretty badly. I mean, when you look at places even like Ocado and then AB Foods and various other people's, WH Smith and Fraser's, well, Fraser's been okay. They're not done that well. But what's really interesting for us is that we seem to be emphasizing where the UK retail is doing really well is in supermarkets, and not only the big ones like Marks and Spencer's, for want of a better choice, and Sainsbury's, and of course Tesco, the largest of the lot, but it's also the Lidls and the Aldis that's come in quite strongly.
They have, and Lidl and Aldi are not really a surprise because all the things we've just mentioned about the consumer being constrained. Of course, Lidl and Aldi are places where they can shop for very low prices, they can make their budgets stretch further, and they can buy reasonable quality food and some nice innovative meal solutions and other things, which Aldi especially is really good at doing. So I think there has been a good performance from those lower tier grocers in terms of price. Then, of course, we've seen Morrison's pick up as well. And I think that's interesting. And Sainsbury's has done pretty well because they are focused on price and value, but they're also focused on adding value. You know, a lot of the things where they're innovating are added value meals. Of course, it's cheaper often to buy really nice food to dine in than dine out these days. And we've seen a great performance there because they're just reinventing those propositions, giving people reasons to come and spend, indulge and treat themselves a little bit. And then, of course, at least before the cyber attack, the king of innovative quality food, M&S, also doing fantastically well. So it's really interesting because you expect the consumer just to trade down. But I think in food, even when people are gloomy, there's this thing that's like, well, look, we want nice things to eat. Maybe we eat out less often. Maybe we dine in a bit more. Let's buy some quality things. And that's really helped a lot of those supermarkets.